Have you ever trusted someone with everything? Your heart, your home, your future, and realized you didn't really know them at all? How far would a person go if they thought they could take it all from you? Could the man you married, the father of your child, really be living a lie under your nose? Would you recognize the truth if it stared you in the face? Or would it slip through your fingers, hidden in plain sight? And the people closest to you, friends, family, what if they were part of the deception all along? Could you survive the betrayal without losing yourself? That's exactly the situation I found myself in 3 months ago. My name is Harper Lane. I'm 34, and I just ended a 15-year marriage to a man I thought I knew, Ethan Calloway. 15 years. Longer than most friendships last, longer than some careers last, and certainly longer than my patience should have endured. But stubborn runs in my family, and I had patience, an extreme kind, carefully calculated over years. I met Ethan when I was 17, fresh out of high school and eager to escape my small-town life. I landed a job as a junior assistant at a prestigious law firm in Boston. Minimal pay, endless paperwork, but it was my first step toward independence. By 18, I was climbing the ranks, learning everything about contracts, client relations, and financial filings. My attention to detail was my superpower, and my silence my shield. Ethan was 24 when we met at a charity gala. Charismatic, ambitious, and brimming with dreams of building a real estate empire. He had a vision that seemed too big for a single lifetime. I was drawn in, not by love at first sight, but by practicality, by the idea that I could help build something real, something lasting. Romance followed naturally. We married when I was 19. Our son Mason arrived a year later. I split my time between raising Mason and helping Ethan with his fledgling business, accounting, client meetings, property research, event planning. I became his silent partner, the one who kept the gears turning while he earned recognition. For over a decade, I poured everything into Ethan's empire, and he took the accolades, the awards, the glory. I was his wife to the world, but in reality, I was the backbone no one saw. Then came the cracks. Decisions made without me, late nights at work, subtle criticisms about my looks, my drive, my worth. And finally that fateful Tuesday, Ethan sat me down in our kitchen, calm and businesslike. "I want a divorce," he said. "The house, the cars, the business, it's all mine. You can keep Mason." As if our 15-year life together was a buffet, and I was being served the scraps. What I didn't know then, but had known in secret for 3 years, was that Ethan's empire was nothing but smoke and mirrors. Hidden debts, secret loans, financial traps he thought I'd never discover. And I had been quietly preparing, patiently, methodically. 3 years before the divorce, I stumbled onto something I wasn't supposed to see. A series of irregular transactions in Ethan's financial records. Transfers to unknown accounts, loans I'd never authorized, payments for things that didn't exist. At first I thought it was a mistake. Then the pattern emerged. Every account, every property, every asset he flaunted was leveraged, borrowed against, or worse, vanishing into the pockets of people I didn't know. By the time I uncovered the full picture, the numbers were staggering. Our house, the one everyone admired, had 3 mortgages. The business, which Ethan paraded at gala events as a multi-million-dollar empire, was drowning in $500,000 of debt. Even the luxury cars? Leased, balloon payments looming. Nothing we owned outright. We were underwater by hundreds of thousands of dollars. I sat in our dim kitchen one night, staring at spreadsheets, my head spinning. My first instinct was to confront him, to scream, to demand answers. But I knew Ethan. He was a master manipulator. Confrontation would give him the opportunity to twist the truth, gaslight me, and maybe even take my own savings. I had always kept a small nest egg. My retirement account from the law firm and a generous inheritance from my grandmother, both untouched. This was my lifeline, my secret armor. I enlisted the help of my uncle, a retired accountant, and together we created an irrevocable trust for Mason. My savings, my inheritance, untouchable, legally shielded, and earmarked solely for my son's future. Meanwhile, I documented everything. Mortgage documents, bank statements, loan records, storing copies at my sister's house, in a safe deposit box, and on an encrypted drive. Every detail, every clue, every proof of Ethan's crumbling empire. And then I waited. 3 years. Watching, pretending. Smiling at dinner parties while knowing our life was built on quicksand. Ethan continued his reckless spending, flaunted Brittany, his young, Instagram-perfect girlfriend, while believing I was oblivious. I watched him dig his own financial grave, each careless purchase and flashy post bringing him closer to the trap I had set. By the time he demanded everything in our divorce, he didn't realize that he wasn't asking for assets. He was signing over debts. Mortgages, business loans, equipment payments, lease obligations. They would all become his legal responsibility. All I had to do was play the part of the broken, defeated wife. I perfected my performance. Red eyes, trembling hands, soft voice, meek requests. I asked for crumbs, a modest cash settlement, my personal belongings, and shared custody of Mason. Ethan, blinded by arrogance and the illusion of victory, agreed immediately. He had no idea he was walking straight into financial annihilation. Even his lawyer, a seasoned veteran of over 30 years, tried to warn him. You should verify these numbers before signing, he advised. But Ethan, impatient, overconfident, and completely convinced of his win, waved him off. He signed everything without reading, just as he always did. My preparation, patience, and secrecy had rendered him helpless, and Brittany, unknowingly, was my unwitting ally. Her presence and influence had made him skip the fine print entirely. Thursday, April 17th. Courtroom 4B. 9 a.m. The sunlight streamed through the tall windows, casting long shadows across polished wooden floors. The quiet murmur of lawyers shuffling papers filled the room. This was it. 15 years of marriage, 3 years of patience, and countless sleepless nights had led to this moment. Ethan arrived first, confident as ever. Charcoal Armani suit, new luxury watch catching the light. He shook hands with his lawyer, Brittany waiting just outside the courtroom, radiating her Instagram-perfect charm. He thought he was about to claim a prize. He had no idea the avalanche waiting for him. I walked in with Nina Castellano. Calm. Composed. No trembling hands, no red eyes. Just quiet confidence. I carried nothing but my folder. 3 binders filled with years of evidence. Mortgages, hidden accounts, loans, every financial misstep meticulously documented. The hearing began. Ethan spoke first, laying claim to everything. The house, the cars, the business. He smiled smugly, expecting the judge to nod in approval. But then Nina began presenting the addendum. Every asset Ethan demanded was tied to debt, legally binding, in black and white. Mortgages? His responsibility. Business loans? His responsibility. Car leases? His alone. Every document, every page, undeniable. Ethan's face changed slowly. First disbelief. Then panic. Sweat formed on his brow. Brittany glanced at him, confused. The courtroom felt electric. Every word Nina spoke was a hammer striking the illusion he'd built over 15 years. Your Honor, Nina said calmly, my client is relinquishing claims to marital property. In exchange, the respondent assumes full responsibility for all liabilities associated with these assets. Legally, this is binding. Ethan swallowed hard. He had thought he was taking control, but with every page turned, every document revealed, the truth became impossible to ignore. He wasn't taking assets, he was inheriting debt. The judge looked at him, then at me. I met her gaze with quiet strength. The room was silent except for the shuffle of papers. I could feel Ethan's confidence crumbling, piece by piece. Finally, the judge signed. Court adjourned. Ethan was left with everything he wanted, except it was all his problem now. Mortgages, loans, leases, business debts, total financial responsibility. My retirement account, my inheritance, and the trust for Mason? Untouched, protected, untouchable. Outside the courtroom, Brittany whispered something to Ethan. He looked at her in disbelief, realization dawning. His empire, his prize, the life he flaunted, destroyed by a woman he thought was broken. I smiled for the first time in 15 years. Not a timid smile, not a nervous smile. A victorious, patient, masterful smile. 3 years of planning, waiting, and watching had paid off. Ethan's downfall wasn't flashy, it wasn't violent. It was meticulous, legal, undeniable. And the sweetest part? He had asked for it himself. As we walked out of the courthouse, Mason ran into my arms. He looked up at me with wide eyes, admiration shining through. "Mom," he said quietly, "you were amazing." I held him close. "Sometimes," I whispered, "you have to wait, watch and plan. And then justice finds its way." 3 years of patience, 15 years of deception, and one perfectly executed plan. Victory quiet but absolute. And that, dear reader, is how a woman underestimated for 15 years became unstoppable. Weeks after the court ruling, life finally began to feel light. The weight of 15 years of deceit, manipulation, and sleepless nights had finally lifted. Ethan? He was a cautionary tale in our social circle. Everywhere he turned, creditors and lawyers were waiting. The house, full of unpaid bills. The business, struggling under debts he didn't anticipate. And he knew deep down that his arrogance had led him here. Pride always comes before a fall. I, on the other hand, rebuilt my life quietly, intentionally. The house we kept, the savings untouched, Mason safe and happy, and the future finally mine to shape. No more fear, no more waiting. Every decision I made was mine alone. Mason blossomed. He asked questions learned from the past, and saw firsthand what patience, strategy, and resilience could achieve. "Mom," he said one evening while we watched the sunset from the backyard, "I want to be as smart as you when I grow up." I laughed softly, brushing a strand of hair from his face. "You already are, baby. You already are." Friends and family noticed the change in me, not just in confidence but in aura. I wasn't the woman crushed by a failed marriage. I was the woman who had waited, planned, and won. A silent strength radiated from me. One that didn't need validation from anyone, especially not from Ethan. And Ethan? I never wished him harm. Life had a way of handling him. Karma, patience, and legal precision did what I couldn't shout from rooftops. He learned the hard way that greed, arrogance, and underestimating someone, especially a woman fighting for her life, never ends well. As I tucked Mason into bed that night, he whispered, "Mom, what's next?" I smiled, feeling the freedom of endless possibilities stretching before me. "Next," I said softly, "next is anything I want it to be." And just like that, 15 years of waiting, 3 years of planning, and countless challenges melted into a story of triumph, resilience, and quiet, unstoppable victory. The past was behind me. The future, bright, limitless, and finally mine.